Okay, I hope you enjoyed this short video. I will make sure to send you a link to the video in my follow-up notes over the next few days. But it's now time for me to receive my colleague and the managing director for the Samoa Tourism Authority European Office, Alison Cryer, who is joined today by our special guest, Michel Pretzsch from tour operator Diamir. Michel, who actually has been to Samoa quite a few times, and Alison, lucky her, she was there literally just a few weeks ago. So I will let them have a chat. Good morning, Alison. Good morning, Michel.
Guten Morgen, Seb.
Talofa, hello,
Hello from Michel. Gosh, I don't know about you, Michel, but that takes us back, doesn't it? That music and that beautiful video takes us back to probably 18 months ago when we were out in Samoa together. I think that's right. And I can't forget that wonderful trip that we had. I don't know what brings back the memories for you, but I think the Fear night in particular, somebody I think won a certain prize at one of those evenings that during that trip.
Well, yeah, the video brings back many memories, especially thanks again for giving me the chance to travel to Samoa like last year. It was a short notice for everyone. Like, I think 2 weeks in advance, I got a mail from Zeb who was saying, you want to come to Samoa? And I did not take long to respond to the mail. I think it was like the fast response anyone got from me. A few days later, we were in Samoa. And as Zeb already mentioned, for me, it was the second time being on Samoa. And it was totally different in a few terms, but on the other hand, it was not different in many terms. Totally different. Like, first time I went there, I was a backpacker and that from a different perspective. Now I saw it with the tourism perspective, and after watching the video, yes, I'm already thinking again to come back to Samoa and bring my family. And yes, that's how I see and depict myself, like the overwhelming, attractive couple running along the beach. Yeah, Samoa.
That's fantastic. And as you say, Samoa offers a range of activities and accommodations for everybody, from backpackers to adults, to adults on their own, in groups, or even families. We saw an awful lot of attractions when we were out there. We visited a lot of different water attractions, and most of Samoa's attractions are indeed outdoors and part of their nature. Which attractions do you remember most, or which attractions would you recommend to your travellers that they really can't miss when they're on Samoa?
Yes. First, I'd say, like, when people ask me about what is Samoa, what should I see, I just say see Samoa, because I think the whole island are like pretty European travel adjusted. Like, it's not that small. Yeah, the islands do have a decent size. You can do a bit of exploring and looking around for yourself. And there's so many things to see along the way. And I'd start, like, my first number one experience is driving around during sunset time in the afternoon, going through the villages. There's villages everywhere, playing rugby on the field, mingling with each other, and yeah, just delight. The colors and the atmosphere makes it great. So this would be my part one. Also, it's not like that experience. On the other hand, there's a couple of music running beaches I really love, like Wow Beach. And the next thing maybe everybody has seen right now is the Tosua Ocean Trench, which is this blue hole right close to the sea, actually, where you can dive in and have a swim inside, and it's all over Instagram right now. And this is one of the attractions I really liked and loved.
Yeah, and that gets better every year. They improve the whole experience every year. They've done the gardens beautifully, and they're just making it such a fantastic place to go and just spend maybe half a day picnicking and enjoying the environment. As you mentioned, the roads are fantastic. Historically, your forebearers, as we would say, were very helpful to Samoa in the infrastructure of the islands, and definitely helped build some really amazing roads and some beautiful buildings. And of course now, unfortunately for the Europeans, but fortunately for the Brits, and we're probably the worst drivers in Europe anyway, so it's better that way around. We are now driving back on the UK side of the road rather than the European side of the road. But the roads are so very rarely busy with more than one car. It's very rarely a problem for driving. A lot of people do hire cars, and of course they can go over from the main island to Apollo to Savai, and they can drive around there. But the roads, there's pretty much only one road or two roads on each island, so you can't get lost. Do you think that your clients would enjoy having a road trip, so moving from one place to the other, or would you recommend that they stay perhaps in just one location, base themselves in one location, and then drive or take tours from there?
Well, it depends on type of traveler, I guess, but I would recommend just to go around and stay in different locations because, as said, on the one hand, it's not that big. Yeah, I think Apollo is like 70 kilometers long. Savai is a bit bigger in size, and going around the circle has a few kilometers. So I'd split it and stay in different locations and have a look around. But also, as you said, driving there, if somebody is spotted, I wouldn't love to have like a rental car and go around by myself, drive on the left side of the road. It doesn't really matter. It's just good fun. There's not many cars. There's those great local buses running, like every village does have its own bus, and they all started up here at a certain point of time, which is, I think, when all the guys from the village are in. Then it starts driving, and they're not that fast, but they're really looking if there's a tourist behind me, and they go to the side and you can pass them easily. And what I also learned is there's like only one traffic light on the Y for sure, so that's no big problems. Easy.
Yeah, and not many no roundabouts. I don't think I've ever seen a roundabout either. Few hill starts on both islands if you're going to go off track, but that's not difficult either. And you can, of course, hire, if you're really intrepid, you can hire the motorbike from some of the resorts, as well as from the car hire companies too. And when you are sending your clients out to Samoa, we do something special, which I feel is very much part of Samoa's Faha Samoa, the Samoa way of life, which is going to church on a Sunday. And I'm personally not a religious person, and I only go to church in Samoa, to be honest, because of the singing and the beautiful voices of the local people. And I do feel that's a very special experience. And you mentioned the villages earlier on, and I don't know if you remember, but when we went to church, we were invited back by just everybody for Sunday lunch. So I think the Samoan hospitality really comes across wherever you are.
Yeah, for sure. So like the church thing reminds me of my first trip to Samoa, which was in 2009. And to be honest, I had absolutely no idea where I go. Like I was in Alice Springs for 3 months and didn't see any rain, so I just booked a flight to a place where it looked green, and somehow this was Samoa. So after I ended there, I got invited by a family on Savai, which is much more traditional than Upolu actually. It was Sunday, and yes, I had to go to church, which was quite of a funny experience because they looked at me and they said they looked like a backpacker, and the lady of the house was kind of starting to shower me and dress me up, and then we walked to church together. And yes, so we experienced that Sunday in church first, all the singing, and I think the preacher was like putting me and myself inside the story in the front. I don't speak Samoan, only a few words like talofa, which is hello, and I remember thank you is fa'a mole mole, and the third word I remember is palangi, which means basically I think like the people with the long nose. And the preacher in front was like palangi, 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 and I think he said this guy is a good Christ coming from all over the world to be here. Anyway, I experienced it. It was great, and this is something you should keep in mind or tell your travelers in front. Like, if you go to Samoa and it's Sunday, there's not that much things happening. So if you plan a trip and you want to make an excursion or like see something special, Sunday is a Sunday, and it's a day off. not much happening.
A family day, a family day. And of course, you can start off in Apia, which I love Apia. It's, you know, it's the capital city, and everyone goes, wow, capital city. It's a tiny capital village, but it does have a cathedral, hence the word they can call it a city. And there's the cultural village there, which I think is really a great way of getting underneath the culture and history of Samoa, and really seeing how the local people still have their traditions today, and how they use their traditions today. I feel that always helps you when you then carry on around the islands. You understand more what you're seeing. If you haven't got a guide with you, you can really understand what you're looking at. Did you feel the same way about the cultural village and Apia?
Yes, I'd absolutely recommend putting the cultural village somehow in an itinerary. It's opened not all days, but most days of the week, and it gives you a good idea about Polynesian culture in total, not only on Samoa. So you do get an umo meal, which is like the traditional cooking of the Pacific region, made in the earth oven. I think that's how you could translate it. You see some tapa clothes, which is like a kind of fabric made out of a bark. And if you're lucky, you even see Samoans getting tattooed in the traditional way. So the tattoo is basically born on Samoa. That's what is told. And yeah, the cultural village is a great experience. It doesn't take or last that long. I think only a couple of hours, so it's not a full day experience, like half day. And yeah, if you can put that in an itinerary, definitely do it. It's made for tourists, but it's a great experience, absolutely.
Yeah, and of course, while you're in Apia, if you're looking for a lava or some of the local jewelry made out of coconut and things, you can pop to the market. Everything's fairly walkable in Apia. And what I found as well is there's a new sort of coffee culture there, cafe culture, which Samoa does have its own coffee. I don't think they use that much in their cafes, but they've got this new cafe culture since COVID, where there's lots of small cafes popped up around Apia, which is quite nice for lunch, with some really lovely organic food and some very nice choices of anything from vegan to meat, which we enjoyed some of those as well, even more so last year. So leaving Apia and then going down towards the beaches, you mentioned that you when you first went backpacking, did you actually stay in one of the fales? Did you have a fale experience on the beach when you were backpacking?
I only stayed in the fales. I didn't really realize there was any hotels around back then, and I went around with the local buses between the villages. If there was no bus, I walked or hitchhiked. And yes, I stayed in the beach fales, which is also a great experience for travelers, especially European travelers, I guess. So basically, a beach fale is a hut without walls. You have only some poles, and there's a thatched roof on it. And for the night, you get a mattress and some mosquito netting, which is nice. You get all the meals, and mostly those beach fales are built directly at the beach. Like in the morning, you hop out of bed and you can have a swim straight away.
And of course, you again meet other travellers with that are doing a similar thing. When you also travelled around, apart from the beaches, did you go up into when you were in Savai'i? Did you go up into the mountains at all, or were you mostly staying on the beaches in Savai'i? Because you can. It's not something that's part of a regular tour, but you can get guides to take you up into the mountains. If you're a hiker or a walker, you can go up, because Savai'i is a dormant volcano, and although there was a volcano eruption in the 40s in Savai'i, and you can see the remnants, which is fascinating. The sort of the lava fields and the blowholes, and I've never seen so much to do with volcanoes than it before in my travels. But actually, to walk up to the top and to see the dormant volcano from above, it's all very green and luscious. It's a nice experience. It's about 1,800 meters high, so it's quite a good height. Did you manage to try that yourself?
No, I didn't. I was on the islands also for another activity like surfing. So I stayed close to the beaches, went to the waves, got crashed or pulled over the reef a couple of times. Like Sepp mentioned, the waves are good, but they're big and it's not for beginners.
Yeah.
But what I did and what I also saw last year, we didn't do it, but I like the idea. There's also like walks along the coast, like on the Polo. There's a coastal walk you can do, and yeah, I think also for more active people, the volcanoes would be a good guess or a good one to do.
Yeah, yeah, and of course, talking about walks, you've got the walks. You can also enjoy the waterfalls. There's a walk up a river, which is great fun, which I actually did. And a good thing about that one is it doesn't matter what the weather's like. I did it in torrential rain. But I was going to be getting wet anyway in the river, so it made no difference. It's absolutely great fun. A real sort of like, you felt like an explorer going through the jungle, walking up the rivers and doing the different falls. And so coming to the food, we've touched on the food, but I find the food, I'm a pescatarian and I actually have intolerances, which is to dairy and gluten. So most places I travel to, it's quite difficult for me to eat out, and it's always a challenge. Thankfully in Samoa, because of their wonderful fresh fish, the fresh tuna, the puku, the different dishes that they do, their traditional dishes, and using coconut milk the whole time and oils and not really any dairy. It's like it is another aspect of paradise. I'm sure you found, and the fresh fruit as well. And the hotels are very good at using local produce. How did you find the food from a non-pescatarian point of view?
Yes, food. I mean, it's fish. So basically, if you go to the islands, you should eat fish. There's other food options. My favorite is the palusami, which is more like a side dish, I guess, which you also serve to the fish. It contains the taro leaves, some onion, and coconut milk, and depends. I think there's a vegetarian version as well. And what you also always find on the table is taro, like not the leaves, but the thing which is growing in the earth, and it makes good dish. I think it's really powerful. It gives you some energy for the day, and yeah, like palusami, all the fish you mentioned, and the taro is my diet when I'm on the island, or when I was on the island.
And oca as well, the lovely oca.
Yes, oca. Maybe like one funny story we experienced last year. I think when we were on the islands, all the fishermen went to Papua New Guinea for a conference, so there was no fish for a couple of days, but then they came back and we had a chance to taste.
Yes, exactly. That is a small community for you, isn't it? And so talking about kind of time and how much time you have, obviously, that it depends, doesn't it, on a traveller. Each traveller's individual, and that's what you as a in your role in the industry, your specialization is finding and matching the right journey with the right, with what that particular traveller is looking for. And Samoa, I do feel, has something for everyone, but you could go there as a stopover while you're doing a tour of South Pacific Islands, or you could go there and just spend 3 weeks in Samoa and really come back very relaxed and chilled, because there's absolutely no way you're going to be able to get stressed or upset about anything. And I would say, I guess, for me, a minimum, I always say 7 days or 7 nights, just to be able to see the 2 main islands, perhaps take a little boat out to Manono or one of the other uninhabited islands, and to get a feel of the people and the country. How do you kind of feel for your travellers, or for the German or European market in general, that works? Because different cultures have different needs.
What I see is that mostly people from Europe travel to the South Pacific are trying to combine it with Australia and New Zealand in the first place. Like, okay, I'm there, so I just go there as well. I'm not bearing in mind it's another 4 or 5 hours flight sometimes. And also, I think the time of the year where you can go to the South Pacific also is a bit diverse to the time you have for New Zealand, Australia. So you should travel between, I think, April and October, November. So yes, we usually combine it with those big islands, I'd say. But I certainly recommend going to the South Pacific, like to a sole destination only, and I would say like go there for 3 weeks. Yeah, it's nice being there for a week if you can't handle it in a different way, but keep in mind, like, you arrive on the islands and suddenly there seems to be not only a different time zone, but it's the famous island time. So you don't really notice it at first, but then you also slow down, and things are much more easier in terms of timing, and you want to have this time to relax and experience the island full and don't rush through. So yes, you can do it in 7 days. I'd recommend be there for 14 nights plus. Take it easy, enjoy the beaches, enjoy the experiences deeply, and yeah. For Samoa, I think I'd be there like 2 weeks on ground plus flight and maybe a stopover in Sydney then.
That's fantastic. And I actually I flew with Fiji Airways this time. I think we all flew over Sydney when we went. And that was great fun. I think I love Sydney as well as a city. I think it's a great stopover, even if we do it for a day or so or just a few nights. This time I flew over Hong Kong with Fiji Airways and then into Fiji. You've got a sort of a day in Fiji to acclimatize to the time zone and then hop over at any time you want to on whichever flight you want to into Samoa, which is a great way of doing it as well. There's lots of different ways in, which is great. And on flying and accommodation, the accommodations are basically, I always say, homegrown, which makes it sound like they're a bit small, but they are small. I mean, at the end of the day, the only brand we have was homegrown, and that's now Sheraton, but originally Aggie Gray's was the first hotelier in Samoa, and the Aggie Gray's in Apia was on the original site and some of the original buildings from the hotel that she built way back in the 1900s. And then the new Aggie Gray's, which is down by the port, that resort was also built by her family and loved by her family until the Sheraton management contract came in. And that's the only branded hotel we have. All the other hotels are locally owned, locally managed, and they can go anything from Sea Breeze, which is maybe, I think it's 12 now bungalows, each individually cared for by the owners, right up to what we would call a big hotel that has 50 rooms. So there's a good selection of hotels, but they are all small. I think that really is a nice way for European people to get to understand and know the local culture, because of the hotels are so Samoan when you arrive and when you go into them, and the decoration. It's important to know that they're not going to find any big glitzy 5-6 star hotels. Moving on to nightlife, because I think nightlife in Samoa is again managing people's expectations. If you want your nightlife on your holiday, get that out of your system in Hong Kong or Singapore and Sydney, whichever route you take to come over or go back. The nightlife in Samoa starts early and finishes early. They have some nice clubs down in Apia, all kind of not too far from each other, so you can do club hopping if you like, but as I say, they close about midnight. But also the Fear nights are great fun, aren't they, Michel? We had great fun at the Fear nights on our journey, and I think some people, those watching the video will have seen the Fear nights are basically fire dancing, but it's not just fire dancing; it's also the beautiful singing, Pacific Islanders singing from the ladies, and the Polynesian culture is very much experienced in that Fear night, and that's what's also very special about Samoa, is it's a Polynesian island, and of course you've got Micronesia, Macronesia, and Polynesia, and that's like saying you've got French people, German people, and English people, all in Europe, but all very different cultures and very different ways of life, which I think is another great experience for people.
Yes, I mean those Fear nights, I think they are like made each night, or maybe not on Sundays, in different hotels. So also if you're like only for a short time on the islands, you do have the chance to see one, just go to the other hotel for the Fear night, and it's really like a catchy atmosphere, because it doesn't feel like it's a tourist show. Those guys dancing with the fire sticks they're enjoying themselves, and we also had the band on our Fear night, and there was a bit of island dancing after, and next to the beach. It was an awesome vibe, and you don't always need the club to enjoy yourself, especially not in these locations. And Fear night is great, and also try to put it on the itinerary for your client.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing to know about the Fear night is the people, actually the singers and the dancers, they're either from the hotel, they're the hotel staff, so you might have you might be given your breakfast the next day by somebody that looked completely different the night before, or they're local villagers. So they're very, very local, and the hotel employs as many local villages as they can wherever they are, just to keep that local economy going. And I think one of the things that Samoa has always done really is responsible tourism and responsible travel, and allowed people to travel sustainably and comfortably within their own environment. It's been fantastic talking to you. I don't know if you have anything else, Michel, you'd like to bring up that I haven't brought up or covered. No, covered it all. Oh, we didn't mention snorkeling. We didn't mention snorkeling. And I think you mentioned surfing, and yes, only for experts, definitely. There are some dive sites, but it's only one dive company in Samoa, and it's not a big dive destination, but it can be done. There is a deep sea fishing, because that's available with the local fishermen, and also with tour guides. And then, of course, snorkeling. And, some of the beaches, you don't even need a snorkel, do you? You can just walk into the water and see the fish. It's extraordinary from a water paradise point of view.
Yeah, this was basically my afternoon experience just for sunset or before sunset, where I go to the beach, step in the water, like just deep, and just watch down and look down. You see fish and everything. And another day we really went for a snorkeling trip, and we didn't even have to go out of the boat. So we tried to go with the boat for a small island for the snorkeling, and there was like turtles running around the boat on the trip. Yes.
It was fantastic. It's really extraordinary. And one hotel which we can call out there, which is Return to Paradise, their beach is extraordinary for snorkeling. So even if people don't go and stay in that hotel, all the hotels welcome you for lunches and meals, fair nights. You don't have to be staying in the particular property. You're welcome to go and visit their hotels and properties and see the beaches. Great. Well, I think unless we've got any questions, have we got any questions, Seth?
We have no question. You've covered a lot. You guys have covered a lot. So no questions that I can see. But thank you so much, Michel. Thank you so much, Alison, for joining us today.